be here today in this fourth session on testing and assessment. I'm gonna share our presentation for today. Okay, 1 second. Let me see, I think it says session 4. Just gonna make sure that is this one. And well, in today's session, we're going to start reviewing unit 3. Okay, no, this is not it. So it's session 5. Then my bad. Give me 1 second. Here it is. So we're going to start the new unit 3, okay? And we're gonna continue talking about some key concepts in assessment, okay? First of all, Carlina, I don't know if you have any questions or there's anything that you want to ask before we start with the session. I'm gonna give you access to the microphone in case that you need to say something at any time. Not at the moment. Okay, Carlina, perfect. Okay, so if you have any question during the session, feel free to activate the microphone anytime, okay, or use the chat, and you can ask any questions, okay? Perfect. All right, so as I was telling you, we're going to start reviewing the third unit, and in this one, we're going to start talking about summative assessment. If you remember, in past sessions, we were talking about formative assessment and different kinds of assessment that we can use for formative assessment. But in this unit, in unit 3, then we're going to start talking about summative assessment, okay? So the roadmap for today will be to talk about the introduction and the objectives of the whole third unit. Then we're going to start talking about summative assessment, okay? And then we're going to talk also about continuous assessment, okay? That is a mixture, or it's a hybrid between formative and summative assessment, okay? So the goals of this unit, okay, throughout all these units, the idea is that we are able to define what summative learning is, or summative assessment. Sorry, it's a typo there. I will fix it before uploading the PowerPoint. So summative assessment, to classify the different types that exist of summative assessment. Then we should be able to evaluate how summative assessment can affect the development of our students when they are learning, okay? And also we'll be able to incorporate the necessary characteristics of summative assessment into the design of a test or an exam, okay, to make sure that we get results that are valid and that are useful for the learning of our students, okay? So these are the goals by the end of to achieve by the end of this unit, okay? So, as I was telling you, if you remember, in previous sessions, we were talking about formative assessment. Okay, so if you remember, formative assessment is that kind of assessment that we do through the year to make the student or to provide the student with information and the teacher with information of how the learning process is going. Okay. Summative assessment, which is the one that we're going to review today, is more is the results of a term, or the result of an academic year, and usually it occurs at the end of the year, at the end of a term, or at the end of a unit. Okay, so at the end of a block of learning. Okay. And the purpose of this kind of assessment is to measure the learning during this content, this block of content, okay? So most of the times, this kind of assessment is especially done when we want to get a certification. So we need to prove or to check or to make sure the acquisition or certain concepts or certain learning in our students, and that's when we apply summative assessment. Okay, so when we start talking about summative assessment, we need to think that although it's usually we think of a test or we think of an exam, okay, but we need to understand that summative assessment has also many benefits on the learning of our students. Okay, so it definitely has an important role to play in the learning of our students. Uh, the ideal situation when we are applying assessment in our classes is that we have certain balance, okay, between formative assessment and summative assessment. Okay, definitely a class that is all the time in a summative assessment that is testing our students at the end of the year, providing them a mark that is the result of that test or that exam, is definitely not the best way of assessment, because we're not definitely assessing all the development of our students. So definitely it wouldn't be the best one. Same thing if we're only performing formative assessment in our sessions. It is essential for learning, but it shouldn't be the 100% or the final mark of our students. So the idea is that we balance some sort of formative assessment and some sort of summative assessment. Okay, so that's the goal, that's the idea. So when we apply summative assessment, we are thinking of a test or an example. We're thinking also of a grade, of a mark. Okay, we provide a grade. Remember, if it's a number, I'm sorry, a grade if it's a letter A, B, C, D, or a mark if it is a number. Okay, so we use this kind of assessment to provide a mark or a grade to our students. Which also can be interpreted as some sort of feedback, because sometimes when the students receive that mark or they receive that grade, they react somehow, and that can work as kind of a motivation for our students, right? To do better, to improve, especially if there is some conversation after receiving that mark. Okay, it's true that it's extrinsic motivation that is not the most desirable one, but for some students, it's definitely part of their motivation to do better in their learning process. Okay, so when we think about the intentions of using this summative assessment, why should we use, or why do we use summative assessment? As we mentioned, we can think about motivating the students. It can motivate them to do better in their assignments, to do better in their class, to study more. Okay, sometimes some students, not for all students, but for some students, they when they receive that good mark at the end of the year, or when they receive a diploma after or a certification, they see it as kind of a reward for the work that they've done, okay, or for having done something successfully. So, and again, that's some sort of motivation for some students. Okay. Also, summative assessment provides information about the performance of a student. Okay, so it provides information for the student per se, but also to the family, to the teachers. Okay, and other members of the school. Okay, so it's also a way of getting some information of the students' outcomes. Also, we can use summative assessment, or summative assessment is useful if when we want to create a group, to select a group, or to group the students in the same level. Okay, so if we want to group the students for example, in the same English level, we can do that through this kind of assessment. Okay, we can provide them with a test. And actually, in some schools that they have, for example, some advanced English classes, what teachers do is they give the students a test, okay, and according to the results of that test, they group the students in the advanced level, the intermediate level, or the basic level. So summative assessment is also useful for that, okay? And of course, we can use it to certify learning or to award a qualification for our students, okay? So that's the things that we would do, okay? So when we're using summative assessment, there are different ways that we can or that we can use to provide effective assessment of learning. Okay, so rationale for undertaking a particular assessment of learning at a particular point in time. So we give the students this idea or this grade or this mark that is going to give them more reasons to continue. Okay. Also to use, for example, clear descriptions. Okay, it's very important that we describe in detail to our students what do we want in that learning process, okay, and how the student should demonstrate the knowledge that they have acquired, the competences, the skills that they have acquired. Okay, but it's very important that we provide that those clear descriptions. Also, it's important that we use alternative mechanisms when we are assessing our students, okay? Especially if we are assessing the same outcomes, okay? It's very important that we don't use always the same tool or the same method to assess, for example, the listening skills of our students, okay? It's important that we use different pieces and we use different methods, okay, and the students can gather different results, okay. Also, it's important that we make public the reference points that we're going to use for making our judgments, and that's why it's important to provide the students with a rubric, but not once they have performed a task, but before performing that task. It's important that the students know what are we going to be judging while they are performing a specific task or when they are taking a specific test. They need to know what they're going to be or how they're going to be graded. Okay. We need to use transparent approaches to interpretation. So we need to be very clear how we are going to interpret those rubrics. We need to describe how the assessment process is going to take place, okay? So in all the methods or all the ways involved in this assessment process, and it's important that we provide our students with strategies for recourse. So in the case that they disagree with our decision or they are not sure if that mark is the correct one, or they need to know what can they do, okay, in order to recourse to that final mark, okay? So doing this and applying all this will help us to provide an effective assessment in our students, an effective assessment of learning. Okay. Now, we have here a summary of planning of assessment of learning. Okay, so thinking about this assessment, we need to ask ourselves why to assess. Okay, so we assess to certify or to inform parents or students of their own proficiency in relation to the curriculum learning outcomes. So how they're doing in relation to those outcomes that we're following in according to our curriculum. What to assess? The extent to which students can apply the key concepts that were reviewed during the sessions, the knowledge, the skills, the attitudes related to the curricular outcomes. Okay, so that's what we're assessing, the things that we have been reviewing during the course, okay? The skills that we have been practicing, the knowledge that we have been working on, and so on, okay? Methods. What methods? Well, it's very important, as we have already mentioned, to use a variety of methods, a range of methods in different modes that assess the product and the process. Okay, so it's important that we assess our students using, again, different methods to make sure that we get a very holistic perspective on their performance on the language. Then, to ensure quality, we need to know that accuracy, consistency, and fairness of judgment need to be present based on a high quality information. So, what we have said already, we need to provide our students with the information on how, when, what the process of assessment is going to be. They need to know, and they need to have that information before performing any task. Okay. Also, we'll ensure quality if we provide the students with clear, detailed learning expectations. What do we expect from them in the course, in the term, or in the session? Okay. And also, we will ensure quality if we provide a fair and accurate summative reporting of the results of our students. Okay. How do we use that information? How do we use the information that we collect through assessment? Well, we will indicate each student's their level of learning. We will provide the foundation for discussions on where to place the students, or if they're going to promote to the next grade, and so on. Okay, and report fair, accurate, and detailed information that can be used to decide what are going to be the next steps in the students' learning. Okay, so all this information is a summary of planning of assessment of learning. Now, this is about summative assessment. The other thing that we wanted to review today was on continuous assessment. Okay, but before moving on to continuous assessment, I would like you to answer this quick. It's not a questionnaire, okay, but this is quite quick question. What do you assess in your English courses, and in what proportion? Okay, so I would like you to access to this website, ciplet.com, and I want you to introduce this code 583494. Okay, and doing that, you will find these questions. Let me share it with you just in a bit. I'm going to make sure that is 1 second. All right. I'm going to share it with you. All right. So if you go to Ciplet, this is the website that you would see. Okay. And then you enter a code here. Okay. And let me just find the code. Oi. So I think you don't need to see it now. It's 583494. I'm going to write it here. So in case that's 494. All right. Again. So once you are in Ciplet, you introduce the code 583494, and you continue. Okay, and you'll have some the same question. Okay, you type your name, student, you write your name. Okay, and then here you have, this is your question. Okay, so why do you assess in your English courses, and in what proportion? Okay, so I would like you to think about the percentage where you will be using or what you will be applying, for example, for pronunciation. How do you assess pronunciation and how much is weight? Okay. How do you assess vocabulary and how much is weight in the final mark? Okay. So you can copy all this information here, and here you just paste and you will write how much would that be. Okay, 10%, 5%, and so on. Okay, I'm going to give you some minutes to do that. Okay, and then we'll see the different answers that we have received. Okay, so I'll let you do it, and we'll be back here in 5 minutes with those responses. Okay. Loretta, I'm taking your answers, but the total should be 100%, and it's more than that. So if you want, try to answer again, okay? But the total should be 100%, okay? All right, one more minute to see if we get some more answers. All right. So Lorena, I'm gonna share your response, okay? So this is what we got. Mhm. 1 second. All right. So, Lorena, this is what we got, okay? So we got 20% pronunciation, 20% vocabulary, 20% grammar, 20%, 10% spelling, 20% listening, 30% speaking, 20% reading, 30% writing, and 15% culture. Okay. The idea is that we get no more than 100%. But it is true that, for example, vocabulary, grammar, they might be graded inside the skills, right? So, for example, in speaking, especially in the productive skills, so in speaking and in writing, okay? So if we check the four skills, 30% will be writing, 20% listening, 30% speaking, and 20% reading. Okay, and there we got the 100%. Okay, and then of course pronunciation, spelling, grammar, vocabulary, those would be included in those skills. Okay, and culture too. Okay. Perfect. So the idea is that the total we will get 100%. Okay, but some of those things are included in the skills that we are testing, right? So that's the idea. Okay, so well done, Lorena. Good job. So, but yeah, usually when we're using summative assessment and we're thinking about this kind of test, and we will talk. Carolina, you did. For some reason, I haven't received any more answers. Let me check. Um, oh, yes, 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 I got it. I got it. Okay, I got two more. Okay, good, perfect. Let me share it then. For some reason, it took some time to see those. Um, okay, and here. So we have more. So Carolina, here is your answer. So you say 10% each, okay? 10% pronunciation, 10 vocabulary, 10 grammar, spelling, listening, speaking, reading, writing, culture, and other. And what would you include in other, Carolina? So my question is, what other things can we assess in our students? What other things can we test when we're testing our students? What else? So what would be other? Carlina, that's my question for you. Okay, if you can answer, okay? Because there are other things that we can test, right? Or that we can check in our students in order to provide them with a mark, okay? The attitude towards the culture, for example, okay? And so on. All right. And Andrea, here yours too. So pronunciation 10%, vocabulary 10%, grammar 10%, spelling 3, listening 15, speaking 25, reading 10%, writing 15, and culture 2%. And there won't be any other. Okay. All right. Just make sure the numbers are rounded to 100%. Okay. So again, the idea then is that when our students are taking this kind of test, especially when they are official ones that are gonna reward, they are gonna provide them with a degree, okay, or with an English diploma, for example. I'm thinking about Cambridge and those kind of exams. Those are designed around the four main skills and mediation, okay? Because that's the new thing. So it would be graded it would be graded the four skills: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. As you know, there will be also some use of English that it would include grammar, collocations, phrasal verbs, and so on. And now they have introduced mediation, okay? That is the ability of the student to mediate between two people, okay, or between two cultures, okay? So those are the things that we will be testing in this kind of activities. Carolina, other activities besides the book? Okay, perfect. Yeah. So the whatever they do in the notebook, a project, for example, or presentations. Okay. The other activities. Very good. Okay. So to close this section of summative assessment so far, remember that what we do with this kind of assessment is to provide the students with a grade, with a mark. Okay. That certifies somehow the level that the student has achieved at some specific point, at the end of a unit, at the end of a term, at the end of the academic year. Okay. Now, another kind of assessment that we should consider, wait, this has been moved, is continuous assessment. Okay. Continuous assessment is very practical and very well used in our English classes. Okay. Because it's a hybrid between summative assessment and formative assessment. Okay. And it's probably more accurate than summative assessment because you are checking the student in a continuum instead of just at the end or a specific point in their academic year. Okay, because when you are providing summative assessment, well, anything can be wrong that day. That the student, if the student has a bad day, or the student is not focused, or is sick, whatever, those things can interfere in the results of that kind of assessment. But if the assessment is continuous, then we get like several pieces of information throughout the year to assess our students. So continuous assessment is probably more accurate when we are testing or assessing our students. Okay, so when we talk about continuous assessment, we need to consider that there are some advantages, of course, but there are also some limitations. Okay. When we think about the advantages of this kind of assessment, according to GSWAG, we can say that continuous assessment can be used recurrently throughout the year. Okay, so it's not just one moment in the year. It can be also used as an alternative to summative assessment, as we have mentioned, okay, or it can be also a supplement to this summative assessment. So we can provide both, okay. Also, continuous assessment is formative, okay? So that means that it enables the students and also the teachers to be aware of the level of learning of the student, okay? Of the knowledge base that the student has and what level the student is, okay? So that is always very useful information. Remember, for us to adapt the curriculum and also for the students to know where they are, what's the point of departure, right? Some other advantages is that it increases the interaction between the student and the teacher, okay? And also it increases the possibility to provide the students with feedback because it's continuous. So we're providing constantly feedback to our students, which give them more opportunities to improve, to react, to change things that are not working in the learning process, and so on. Another advantage is that provides the teacher with the knowledge to be able to change, as we have mentioned. So they give us the information to know if we need to change the way that we're teaching, a change of instruction, or if we need to adapt our teaching methods in order to make the learning more successful for our students. Okay. And also, it reduces the possibility of sudden death in our students, okay? And it can also be classified as authentic assessment, okay? So we can use it, as I told you, instead of summative assessment or as a supplement to it. Now, there are also some limitations, okay, when applying this continuous assessment, okay? The first one is that the students are responsible for their own, for their own work. So this kind of assessment gives a student many more opportunities, okay, and many more opportunities for cheating, okay, especially if we ask them to do things at home, okay, and bring the activities done, or bring writing already written from home, okay. So this gives the student to the opportunity to do that, to cheat, okay. So how can we overcome those situations? Well, we can definitely use as much time as possible in class to work instead of asking them to work at home, okay. And also we can ask the students to present the work that they have done or explain their own work, okay, just to make sure that they understand what they have done. If the work has been done by the student, they should be able to explain why, what have they done, how they did it. But if it's not their work, it would be hard for them to explain, okay. So those are just some ideas to avoid this cheating, okay. And also, another limitation is that teachers may need training to use this kind of assessment in a correct way, okay? Especially on how to record the task or the work of the students, how to manage the timing along the year, how to plan and how to organize the activities and the curriculum in order to apply this continuous assessment. Okay, so those are the flaws of these kind of assessments. But again, I consider that is a very positive way of assessing a student. Okay. Now, when we're using the continuous assessment in the classroom, we need to remember that continuous assessment is not a synonym, but goes hand in hand with active learning. Okay, so continuous assessment implies not only exams, if you want to, like summative assessment, but it also implies that the students need to work in projects, for example. They need to work applying collaborative learning. Group work, and so on. Okay, so it implies an involvement of the student in the learning process that is active. Okay. Also, it's important to remember that when we're applying continuous assessment, and in order to do it in an effective way, we need to incorporate the objectives of the activities, the tasks that we require our students to do, but also the rubrics, so the students are aware of the learning goals that they have. Okay, so what they need to perform, or how they need to perform the task in order to successfully complete that task and to get a good result. Okay, questions on continuous assessment? Any questions on this? No? Okay, perfect. So then my question for you. My question for you is, if you go back to Ciplet, now you'll have another question that should have been published by now, with the same code, okay? And the question now is, what would you grade using continuous assessment? I mean, what kind of activities, what kind of task would you use in your class in order to apply continuous assessment, okay? For this one, I'm going to give you some time, okay? I'm going to create two groups, and I'm going to ask you to discuss with your partner before you actually write down your answers in the Ciplet, okay? And then we will come back here and we will share your answers, okay? We're going to take 10 minutes for this, so you have time to discuss and to write your answers carefully, okay? Let me create the groups then. So we're gonna have two groups with two people, each of them. Okay. All right, we're finishing the group work, okay? And I haven't seen many answers in the app, okay? But I don't know if it's still loading or you haven't had the time to post it. So what things do you consider that we can grade with this continuous assessment? What task or what kind of work can we assess with this continuous assessment, or what would you grade in this continuous assessment? I don't know if anyone can give me an answer to that. Seems like no. So when we are applying these continuous assessments, I think Lorena, you're typing something. Tell me your ideas before I tell you mine, okay? Carlina is typing too. So let's see what kind of things can we check or assess. I'm gonna see if your answers are on, but they don't appear. No. Mm. Maybe we can assess the critical thinking. Very good. Problem solving, collaborative abilities. Okay, very good, Lorena. Yes, yes, very good ideas. Uh, all those things that you're mentioning seems to be like part of the daily performance of the students, right? Giving the students a problem to solve using the knowledge they have. Very good. Okay, very good. So all those things seem like, yeah, in our everyday, okay, depending on the task that we request our students, but we can be checking all those things through their performance. So how the students are performing in class, right? We can take notes, participation, attendance, responsibility, very good. So all those things, class participation, interaction, there you go. So all those things, we can keep record on how to do that. Okay. So for example, one idea that I have for all of these things that you're mentioning in my classes, for example, I use a participation card with my students, and there's a rubric for that participation card. So in every day, the students can grade themselves from 0 to 10, okay, according to their use of English in class, the resolution of problems that we were trying to solve in the class, answering questions, collaborating with the classmates. So in the rubric, they can read and check the things that they are required to do in order to get a good mark, right? So doing that in every day, I keep record on the students' performance in every session. Okay, so that's, for example, one way of doing that. Okay. Remember that also with this continuous assessment, we're trying to assess or ask the students to actively participate, but also to do group work or collaborative work. Okay, so also checking or through projects. Okay, we can see how the students are collaborating, how the students are working in groups. Okay, so all those things we can check them in those kind of activities. Okay, but it's very important that we keep record of all those things in a daily basis. So we can use a notebook or different ways of collecting that information. Okay. Of course, continuous assessment. At the end of the year, we'll have a more, as I told you at the beginning, a more holistic view of the students' performance in all the skills along the course in our subject. Okay, so probably would be a more completed vision or perspective on what the students have done along the year. Okay. Perfect. So that is all for today. Okay. So we have just reviewed a little bit of the summative assessment, and the continuous assessment. And then for our next session next week, we're going to start talking about tests that we can use in summative assessment. And we're going to cover the contents of how to understand tests, and also we're going to cover the content on the effects that this summative assessment has on our students. So when we're applying this summative assessment, we should be aware of the consequences, okay, that kind of assessment should bring to or could bring to our students, okay? So that is all for today, okay? Thank you very much for your participation, and I'll see you then in next week's session, okay? Remember that if you have any questions in the meanwhile, you can post them in the forum of the Ask Your Teacher, and I think that's all. So have a wonderful afternoon, everyone, and see you next week, okay? Thank you. Bye-bye.